Welcome to the NTNT podcast. Listen to three relatable dweebs talk about things they have never done before. Tweet us with any suggestions you've got using the hashtag NTNTTryThis.
All right, welcome to our podcast. If you're tuning in from either SoundCloud, YouTube, or Spreaker, which is where we're currently being hosted at the moment. I am one of your hosts, Carly.
And I'm another host, Brendan.
I'm the last host. I'm Keegan.
Last but not least.
So if you guys could have a dream Super Smash Bros. Type video game, what would it be a mashup of? Because we've got like a bunch of different like all-star rosters. They've been the PlayStation All-Stars. There's been, Smash Brothers, obviously. There's that Blaze Blue one with a bunch of anime fighters that just came out. So what would yours be?
Oh boy.
I know, right? Because it's hard to improve on what is already great, and Smash Brothers is, like, so great. I would put in just a crap ton of anime characters, like, all the anime characters.
Like, just, like, anime all-stars.
Yeah, like, get Luffy from One Piece in there, and some Naruto.
There is a new one coming out called Jump Force that has Luffy versus Naruto.
Brendan, what would you file in there?
Let's see. Well, I think this is already something that's out there. Cartoon Network All-Stars, and I think, if I remember correctly, there was something on CartoonNetwork.com where it was either a racing game or some sort of all-out smash fest. My character would obviously be Ed from Ed and Eddie. You could get Powerpuff Girls in there, Cow and Chicken, Johnny Bravo.
Ooh.
Yeah, it would be cool if they made, like, a really good one of those games. Because most of them have been either, like, bad Mario Party ripoffs or, like, something cheap, silly for the kids. But they don't care. They're like, yay, cartoons. But,
yeah,
I don't know. I'd like a good version of that. Be awesome. I want a Disney All-Star fighting. Like, think about it. You got Winnie the Pooh going up against Pocahontas. You got Buzz Lightyear going up against Mr. Incredible or Mrs. Incredible.
I like it.
Either one.
I like
That'd
it.
be sick.
Can we expand that even more? Like, because you've mentioned Disney, you've mentioned, like, Cartoon Network. What if we did a PBS fighting game? Just to kind of...
Absolutely.
How all those kids who didn't have cable and had to rely on public broadcasting in their regional area. So you got like Arthur and Dragon Tales, and you could play as Caillou and just annoy everyone to death.
I want to see Arthur do like a spinning bird kick to somebody. That would be super funny. I would die laughing. Fucking Big Bird is a grappler. Just like body slamming people. Oh, it'd be so good. Kermit does a fucking shoryuken to somebody.
For Arthur to do his ultimate, it's just the cutaway that happens. It's a close-up of him making a fist.
And the more stylized, the better. If just the more close-up on the fist just clenching, and then he just one punches him. Oh, that would be so good.
One punch!
Mr. Rogers. That'd be the character I'd play all the time. His special move would be like taking you to the land of make-believe, where you're just completely disoriented, and then he comes up behind you and like wraps his sweater and then like gives you like a final
hug.
Yeah.
It's so hard to put him in a fighting game because his whole thing is about like peace. The most non-violent person in a fighting game is amazing.
He just makes you think about your place in the universe and the impact you make on all of your neighborhood people. And he whispers in your ear,
"Won't you be my neighbor?"
KO!
KO!
His little intro when you're about ready to start the fight, it's close up on him. And he's
he just starts taking off his shoes.
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
Round 1.
I could see him being the final boss.
Yeah.
He comes down from the heavens as the final boss.
And then before you get to him, you have to fight Mr. McFeely, the postman.
Oh god.
I don't remember him.
That's the pre-boss fight where he like throws letters at you.
Yeah, dream matchup. Barney versus Mr. Rogers for sure. Just seeing Barney's like head like starting to eat Mr. Rogers, like nightmare inducing.
I love you.
Oh, he sings like fucking Jigglypuff and puts people to sleep. I love you. KO. Oh my god.
Coming 2020, PBS Kids the Fighting Game.
PBS Smash.
PB Smash.
19,
United States of PBS Smash.
plus Ultra.
Arcade edition. I'm glad that went in that direction.
Okay, so each of us had our tasks, and we actually had a couple extra days to complete the tasks. So
Yeah, we did.
Yeah,
We did.
and that's partially. Well, I should more than likely just say it's my part
Oh,
that took the extra couple days.
But Carly,
yeah.
I think it's your week to start us off.
Do
Yes.
I get to start?
Yeah,
You do.
How exciting.
yeah.
So I came with cool fun facts about my show that I watched, actually, that I was doing 5 minutes before this. So that was kind of fun. I watched Westworld for the first time because everybody at work watches Westworld and the new season came out recently. So I was like, oh, gotta watch the latest new hip thing. So I did, and I loved it. It was so good. One of the things that I thought was the best thing about it was the intro. It's a very visually appealing type of show. So there's a lot of symbolism in visuals, and it just kind of, it appeals to me artistically in a way. One of the other reasons I really liked it was because it had Anthony Hopkins in it. Anthony Hopkins plays in one of my favorite movies of all time, which is Silence of the Lambs. So you're like, all right, this is already going to be creepy as shit. So I was super pumped to see him act in it. And then also, I'm a huge fan of Game of Thrones. So it is a show that is kind of modeled after Game of Thrones in the sense that there's just a ton of the sex and the violence, as long as like what also with the twists and the turns that you get with the plot. That did not disappoint. But yeah, overall it was a really, really good show. I only watched the first season of it. I still have to watch the second season.
I was going to ask that because we did discuss it a little bit off podcast, and that's that I've watched both seasons. Season 1 may be one of my favorite seasons of anything ever. I agree. I love Westworld Season 1. Season 2 is okay to me. So I'm glad you love Season 1.
Yeah, that's what I've kind of heard from other people about it. One of the really cool things about the show that I don't know if you guys know is that it actually is based off of a movie back in the 1970s.
I didn't know this.
Yeah, so the movie was Westworld, the movie, and it had Yul Brynner. He was, I guess, a very well-known Western movie star, but the only thing I know him from is The King and I. But yeah, it followed the same premise in the sense that, like, there's an amusement park people go to that have androids there, and eventually the androids come down with this kind of technological malfunction that acts almost like a virus, and then they start attacking the guests. One of the really cool things about it is that the old movie had basically 3 choices of places you could go. You could go to Westworld, or you could go to Roman world, or you could go to medieval world. And the 2 main guys in this older movie were like, oh, we'll go to Westworld. And then they end up getting basically stalked by this gunslinger who is Yul Brynner, who eventually gets tired of getting shot so much and starts to chase them around the park and shoot at them instead. It was actually directed by Michael Crichton, who wrote Jurassic Park. Basically, Michael Crichton had this idea that he got when he went to Disney World and saw the Pirates of the Caribbean ride and was like, oh, wouldn't it be absolutely terrifying if these android pirates came alive and started attacking the guests at Disney World, and was like, I'm going to make this into a book. But the problem was that he couldn't really write it as a book because there was so many things about the story that he wanted to share visually. So he thought it might make a better screenplay. So he worked on it as a movie instead of an actual novel. So those are my cool, fun facts about Westworld. I just think it's really interesting, though. They've kind of alluded that Westworld isn't the only world there. So I'm looking forward to, in season 2, they're going to expand into a different kind of amusement park that has a different cultural aspect about it. Mm-hmm. But that is all I will share. Lots of naked people. That's nice. Another thing. Yeah.
Yeah, season 2, this is definitely not spoilers. They definitely, besides like the first episode, they definitely cut down on the amount of nudity.
Okay.
And we're like, we have a sufficient amount of violence. I don't think we need to justify any real nudity at this point. But I mean, it was kind of like, it fit fine in season 1. Like, if there was a bunch of nudity in season 2, I would have been like, what the fuck? This doesn't make sense.
Yeah, because to be honest, most of the nudity is just them in the rooms testing the robots. Just being like, all right, like going through the code, and because they, for some reason, don't need clothes when they're being tested for their code. So that is the most of the nudity that happens, and it's very unsexy, I guess, which I'm okay with because I don't need sexy robots. That's not my thing.
It's mostly artistically done, so I think it's fine.
I really like the allusion to, because there's like a scene where they pull out the Sistine Chapel ceiling, like the painting that was done, and then they point at it and they're like, the portion that is God's portion ends up being like a silhouette of a brain, and then also when the robots are made, they look like the Vitruvian Man when they get dipped in the weird milk fluid skin stuff, which is nasty. I really enjoy the symbolism and the whole Isaac Asimov aspect of like what is human consciousness and rules that apply to technology and what is ethically okay. So I guess that's what I like most about this show.
And Carly, you're the type of binger that you pretty much have to wait until the entire season has been aired. You can't just watch one episode one week and then go 6 days waiting for the next one.
I had to wait till all the episodes of My Hero Academia to come out before I would watch even the first episode of the 3rd season, which is a good idea for me because that way I remember things more if I just binge the entire show at once. It's just more enjoyable for me personally.
What did you think of the season 1 finale, the twist at the end of that?
Okay, so
without going too much into
I was like, how do I talk about it? I was falling asleep actually when it happened. So yeah.
So it's boring.
No, I was just I was staying up really late to try and finish it. Basically, I knew something was going to happen, and I kind of wasn't surprised. I was like, oh, this makes sense. So in a way, I was like, I kind of see this coming. I didn't think certain people would die, though. So, but yeah. Nobody dies in this show. They just kind of poof. That's a joke.
Yeah.
They definitely die. Everybody dies.
Yeah. Just some people more than once.
Yeah.
Right?
God, imagine being a robot and having to die multiple times and being like, well, this again.
Also, I didn't know about the Jurassic Park thing, but that makes sense. I would describe the same feelings I have towards Jurassic Park, the first one, being like equal to season 1 of Westworld.
Yeah. It's that same thing where it's like we have this technology and we're going to use it for entertainment instead